or lose in Utah, we work together.
The Democratic and Republican gubernatorial candidates in Utah team up in a call for political civility.
Donald Mitchell discusses big issues like education, racial injustice, and voting with Vice Presidential candidate Kamala Harris.
Welcome to Newsline. It's Wednesday, October 21st. I'm Emma Benson.
And I'm Karani Namonyo. Amidst the COVID spike, Utah County's mask mandate has expired.
Newsline reporter Valentina Yingling is in Utah County with more. Valentina?
Utah County's mask mandate has been terminated by the Utah County Health Department, but does that mean no more masks? Not exactly.
The Utah County Health Department released a letter in which it rejected the application for a referendum of health order. However, the state's new COVID-19 response plan still requires masks in Utah County.
People who live in Utah County had different feelings about the changes. Here's what they had to say.
Yeah, I'll definitely continue, wearing my mask for as long as I need to. And even, when they first started requiring masks in places, I never had a problem. It bugs me just as much as it bugs everyone. But I think that, if we all just, wear our masks when we need to and when asked, I think it would actually move things a lot quicker.
I'm a really laid back person. However it goes, I will roll with. Because if I walk into a place, I'm not going to refuse to wear a mask. I'm going to respect the people there, the owners, and the law.
But the people who make a huge deal out of it, I honestly think that's pathetic. But that's just me. But yeah, I honestly think you should just wear your masks when asked to.
I don't think we knew what was coming, but if we had stayed open and just stayed strong and been smart about it from the beginning about cleaning and wearing masks and doing everything, a lot of businesses would have been doing good and our economy wouldn't have crashed and it wouldn't have been as bad of a burn, even though it still would have been a burn.
For more information on state safety guidelines, visit www.coronavirus.utah.gov. I'm Valentina Yingling reporting for Newsline in Utah County.
Thanks, Valentina. As of today, the total coronavirus case count in Utah is more than 96,000. More than 1.3 million tests have been reported and nearly 990,000 people have been tested. The total number of hospitalizations is around 4,700 with 551 total COVID deaths. Farmington High School moves to online learning today. This change is expected to last until November 4th. Breakfast and lunch will still be provided to the students throughout the closure. Even though classes will move online, the school will still be holding extracurricular activities until 3 COVID-19 cases are reported within a team or activity. Farmington High School will be keeping in close contact with parents for future updates.
The Democratic and Republican candidates for Utah governor call for civility in politics and peaceful transition of power. Our reporter Joe Belknap asked Utah voters what they think of the call to action.
My name's Spencer Cox.
And I'm Chris Peterson. And we approve this message.
Democrat Chris Peterson and Republican Spencer Cox are running against each other for Utah governor, but they came together for this ad about civility.
We can debate issues without degrading each other's character.
We can disagree without hating each other.
And win or lose in Utah, we work together.
I went to the drop-off ballot boxes in Provo to talk to voters.
Yes, I voted in that box right there.
No one I talked to had seen the video yet, so I got their initial reactions, and more times than not, it brought a smile to their faces.
I love it.
You love it?
I love it.
I liked it. I really appreciated it.
It's awesome. I love it. That just makes, even though people have different opinions, it makes you feel united. And
I would agree that it's definitely easier said than done.
I asked them what makes it so difficult to remain civil.
Because it deals with values that are so central to your identity, kind of hurts.
Cox and Peterson said they want to make Utah an example for the nation. Provo voters seem to agree.
I think a lot of people are starting to lose hope in non-polarized politics, but that kind of changed my mind.
But the two candidates aren't going to stop competing for your vote.
And while I think you should vote for me...
Yeah, but really you should vote for me.
If you are voting in Provo, the ballot boxes are at the Provo Town Center and the Provo Library. Reporting for Newsline, I'm Joe Belknap.
Thanks, Joe. For more information about ballot boxes near you, go to voteinfo.utah.gov.
We have record early voting in Utah this year. NewsLine reporter Whitney Leland tells us why voter turnout is so large this year.
Utah election officials want a record turnout this year, but they don't want to see long lines at the polls. Instead, Justin Lee, director of elections in Utah, wants voters to avoid the polls and utilize the state's mail-in ballot system. That means putting ballots, which the state sent out last week, in drop boxes, back into a mailbox, or dropping them off at polling locations. Lee says the quality of a mail-in system is only as good as the quality of a state's voter database, and he insists that clerks in Utah keep close tabs on the National Change of Address database, which helps them keep ballots from going to the wrong addresses at a minimum.
I think it's a lot easier than getting out to a ballot place and dealing with all the lines and stuff.
Smith claims early voting brings a couple of advantages. It helps avoid long lines on election day, which is always inconvenient, but with COVID numbers continuing to spike, it could also prevent the spread of the virus to the older, most vulnerable population. Mail-in ballots also help the state get a head start on election results.
Very strong opinions, and they want to make them known, so I think there's just a lot more pressure to get out.
Increased mail-in voting, COVID-19, and a variety of state-by-state election formats contribute to a unique 2020 election. While human error happens, both mail-in and in-person voting have extremely low rates of fraud.
There's just so much polarization that everyone wants to get out and make sure that their voice is heard.
The state of Utah gives you the ability to register all the way up until Friday, so go out there and cast your ballot. Reporting for NewsLine in Provo, Whitney Leland.
NBA star Donovan Mitchell talks about important issues like education, race, and voting with vice presidential candidate Senator Kamala Harris. The roundtable discussion took place yesterday and on Tuesday. The group tackled issues like the power of voting, being informed, and the importance of black community in this election. Mitchell says equity in education and being informed is important.
I always wonder, if we want to get to the ultimate goal of equality, whether it's through education or systemic racism or voter suppression, whatever it is, the best thing we can do is inform. No voice is too little. And I think the great thing about the league that we were making a huge push to go out and vote, focusing on education, finding ways to at least inform.
Vivint Smart Home Arena, where the Jazz play, will be opened as a polling site on Election Day.
An Iron County man is behind bars today after being arrested for sexual assault. Iron County sheriff deputies believe 33-year-old Adam Green was involved in an attempted rape. This incident occurred in a camping trailer near Cedar City where the suspect allegedly attacked and attempted to sexually assault a woman. Green is a convicted sex offender who was currently out on bail. Green remains in custody and is being held without bail.
Police say a Provo man shot a family member who he mistook to be an intruder. The victim of the shooting was taken to hospital with critical injuries. The incident took place at 5:15 on Tuesday morning. No details have been released about where in the house the shooting took place. No arrests have been made, and the Provo Police Department is expected to release more information on the incident later today.
West Valley Police need your help to find a woman who has been missing for more than a month. The police department is searching for 22-year-old Kelsey Kasler, who is homeless. She was last heard from on September 6th in West Valley City. Kasler is 5'8" with a thin build. She has a tattoo of red roses on her right shoulder and a tattoo of a necklace on the back of her neck. Anyone with information on her whereabouts should call the police department.
Electricity could be turned off in Summit and counties as safety precaution in an effort to prevent further spread of wildfire. Conditions in northern Utah, such as low humidity, dry vegetation, and winds, could meet the criteria for a public safety power shutdown later this week. Rocky Mountain Power is monitoring weather conditions for wildfires in high-risk areas. Rocky Mountain Power customers will receive notifications in advance if power shutdown will occur.
545 children are without parents at the border. Find out what efforts are underway.
I was just thinking about how much I miss them and how a lot of our students in college, we don't have that parental interaction as much anymore.
Sticky notes are popping up around BYU campus, but it's not litter. More on what these notes are.
Imagine leaving your home of 37 years. The beloved Dingle Dolphin did exactly that. What locals are saying coming up.
Mountain goats can hike Mount Timpanogos, and there are chances of snow coming up this weekend.
President Donald Trump's tax records show he has pursued expansive business projects in China. The New York Times reports that President Trump has a Chinese bank account with nearly $190,000 in taxes in the country from 2013 to 2015. The president holds a previously unreported bank account in China that was not included on his public financial disclosures because it is held under a corporate name.
The Justice Department and American Civil Liberties Union are leading an effort to locate the parents of 545 children. The children were separated from their parents at the Mexican border. A federal court ordered the reunification of those families. It is believed that most of the parents were deported without their children, and those children are still in the U.S. with a sponsor.
A grand juror in the Breonna Taylor case says the jury was not given a chance to weigh charges against 2 of the 3 Louisville police officers who fired their weapons into Taylor's apartment. The juror says the jury was never given the opportunity to discuss homicide charges. Instead, only one officer involved in the incident was indicted on wanton endangerment charges for a bullet that went into a neighboring unit.
A beloved dolphin in Ireland has now been missing for 4 days. Fungi, the dingo dolphin, has been living on the Kerry coast of Ireland for 37 years since 1983. Locals say his disappearance is critically, sorry about that. The longest he has ever disappeared for was 4 or 5 hours. While the official search may have come to an end, locals say they will continue to monitor for any sign of their marine friend for a long time.
A BYU student has decided to help homesick students by putting up notes from mom and dad around Provo. NewsLine reporter Lauren Hemmert found some of the sticky notes and tells us more about the project.
Between midterms, quarantines, and social distancing, some students are beginning to feel a little homesick. But one student came up with a project to help students feel just a little closer to home.
I thought it would be cute if I put up little reminders across Provo for people to think about their parents and call them and say they love them.
Elena Dayton spent the summer quarantined at her home in London, England with her family. After returning to school this fall, she was beginning to feel homesick and decided to do something about how much she missed her family.
It was inspired by my parents, actually. I was just thinking about how much I missed them and how a lot of us students in college, we don't have that parental interaction as much anymore.
Elena wrote different phrases parents say and printed them out. She hopped on her bike to hide post-it messages around Provo to encourage students on their way to class.
There she is.
Following this map, students can track down many of the sticky notes that share silly and thoughtful messages from "Don't forget to defrost the chicken" to "Be nice, I love you" from mom.
Some of them are personal, but some of them are also just like general things that parents will say just to remind other students of home. And one of them actually was a direct quote from my dad. He always calls me Puds. That's like his little nickname for us kids. And I purposely put it up on my route to school so that every time I pass it, I'm reminded of my dad and I just send him a little lovely text.
Through this project, Elena hopes that students will have comforting reminders of their families at every turn. So whether you're near or far from home, keep a lookout and you just might find an encouraging message or two from your mom and dad. Reporting from NewsLine in Provo, I'm Lauren Hemmert.
Thanks, Lauren.
Just because you're in quarantine doesn't mean you have to always stay inside. But that being said, is it safe to take to the mountains alone? NewsLine reporter Juliet Favero is in Slate Canyon to give us the answer.
Recently, my roommate tested positive for COVID, which means that I am in quarantine. But I am not a person who does well staying inside for long periods of time. So I have decided to go on multiple long hikes all by myself. The question is, though, is that safe? And if it is, what precautions should you take before you go all by yourself?
The majority of hiking and travel sites say that hiking alone is just not safe because the dangers of injury, attacks, getting lost, unexpected terrain, and so on are only exacerbated by the fact that you're alone.
What was that?
It is very dangerous, and I would definitely recommend, if you can, to hike with someone else.
That being said, some sites and experienced hikers say that it can be okay to go it alone if and only if you do these things. Wear proper footwear and attire.
Hydrate and do prior research just as you would if you were hiking in a group. But especially if you are alone, you should only hike well-marked trails. Tell someone where you are going, know what your limits are, don't wear headphones, be aware, know the wildlife, check the weather, and above all, stay on the trail.
I don't think there's anything too wrong with it if you already know the trail and you let someone know ahead of time that you're leaving.
If you choose to hike alone, please take the necessary precautions, don't do it at night, and just exercise common sense. Reporting for NewsLine in Provo, I'm Juliette Favero.
Here is a drone video taken on Mount Timpanogos. As you can see here, there is a herd of mountain goats fleeing up the mountain. I hiked this a few weeks ago and those goats can ascend it faster than I can. There are those beautiful fall colors with reds, greens, and yellows. Make sure to enjoy the scenery now because it might be covered in snow in the next couple of days. As you can see with our weather radar, there is some snow and a cold front coming up from Canada down to Montana, and I think that's going to come hit us here in Utah in the next couple of days as I was looking at the temperatures. So you know that the winter is coming. Here are today's temperatures. In Logan, we have a high of 61, low of 31. In Salt Lake, high of 73, low of 39. In Provo, high of 74 and a low of 37. In Price, similar temperatures with a high of 75 and a low of 43. As we're getting into southern Utah, we still have some warmer temperatures. We have a high of 81 and it's going to be sunny today, tomorrow on Thursday, and then on Friday and Saturday it's still going to be sunny. On Sunday it's going to start being a little more rainy, and then on Monday it's going to be partly cloudy. We've got these warmer temperatures, but then if we go to northern Utah, we're going to see some warmer temperatures on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but then on Sunday and Monday, the temperatures are going to drop to 44 and 40 with a low of 21 and 20, and I hear that it's going to snow, so make sure you get your warm weather jackets, you get your coats, your gloves, and you stay warm because it's going to snow this weekend. Back to you guys.
Among Us is breaking streaming records.
It's incredible that we still are able to connect and have social interaction.
Find out more about the trending game and why people are addicted.
Avengers Assemble! Marvel's Chris Pratt comes under fire on Twitter. Find out why.
When I was growing up, my mom was extremely tidy. We were trained to put things back where we got them from. One day, when I walked into my mom's house, I felt like I walked to someone else's house. There was stuff everywhere, and just growing up the way I grew up and to see this transition was very alarming.
When Sean talked to me, it was a wake-up call, and that's when I went to the doctor.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She'd carry 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
The Chosen is the first ever multi-season show about Jesus Christ. It is the #1 highest crowd-funded project of all time, raising over $10 million, and now season 2 is filming here in Utah. NewsLine reporter Joseph Carson went to the set to show us more.
I'm here in the middle of the desert in Goshen, Utah, and it looks pretty empty, but if you're not careful, you might stumble back in time and right into the ancient city of Jerusalem.
The Chosen focuses on the life of Jesus Christ and the people around him, like Mary, James and John, Nicodemus, and more.
I did not come to deliver the people from Rome. And from what? From sin.
Season 1 premiered in 2019, and the whole thing is streamable online. It's had massive success on social media, gaining hundreds of thousands of followers. Now, Season 2 is filming in Utah at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Jerusalem set in South Utah County.
The Chosen's production set is 100 yards by 100 yards big. Making the show has been a huge challenge, and the fact that season 2 is getting made is kind of a miracle.
Definitely by far one of the most difficult projects they've ever worked on, just because there's a lot of opposition. COVID has been very challenging. Budgeting, we're well over $800,000 is what it's going to cost us to do all the COVID tests.
The Chosen draws its inspiration from the Bible, but takes some creative liberties too. Dialogue and plot lines are added that aren't in the book.
We're not translating the Bible verbatim, but we are telling a Bible story. And so we do want to make something that's entertaining as well.
Whenever they do stray from the source text, they always make sure it's based in history.
The amount of research that these folks have done, it even boggles me sometimes.
Gunderson says what sets The Chosen apart from other Christian films and TV shows is the production quality and attention to detail.
If anything deserves to be at this level, it's the story of Christ. And I think that's what has taken this show and set it apart from other shows. It's creating these stories and making them relatable to us. They dealt with the same problems we did, right? Marital problems, addiction problems, fighting our own internal demons, all these different things that we still struggle with today. They were struggling with then. They just had the blessing of being chosen to be with Christ at the time.
Season 2 of The Chosen is expected to debut sometime around Easter 2021. Reporting for NewsLine in Goshen, I'm Joseph Carson.
Thank you, Joseph.
There's an Avengers-level threat on Twitter, and it's aimed at Chris Pratt. Maddie Williams has the story on the internet's least favorite Chris.
A Twitter challenge leads to political claims about Chris Pratt. It started as "one has to go" and evolved to accusations of hate crimes. While other Avengers gather to Biden's Voters Assemble campaign, Pratt is absent from the lineup, and the internet took notice. Pratt has made no comment on his political leanings, but Twitter users are aggressively labeling him as a Trump supporter. For those of you still confused, Brandon Hawkins was way ahead of you and asked for a recap on Twitter. Serious question because I feel like I missed something. Why are 95% of replies Chris Pratt? What did he do? One user replied, "I don't know about anyone else, but I hate hypocrisy of playing the nice guy while supporting a homophobic cult." This is in reference to Pratt's membership in the Hillsong megachurch. Another user replied, "I think he said something good about Jesus once, so now Twitter people hate him." But the Avengers aren't standing for any attacks on Pratt. Robert Downey Jr. posted to his Instagram, "What a world. The sinless are casting stones at my brother, Chris Pratt, a real Christian who lives by principle, has never demonstrated anything but positivity and gratitude." And says, "If you take issue with Chris, I've got a novel idea. Delete your social media accounts. Sit with your own defects of character, work on them, then celebrate your humanness." This last Twitter user perhaps best summarized the conflicts by asking why it happened. "What a way to ruin the Avengers," he says. "Hollywood and sports needs to stay out of politics. Why divide fans?" Now, personally, I probably would have gone with Chris Pine, being the only non-Avenger of the famous Chris's on the lineup, but no one asked me. But whoever your least favorite Chris, remember 13 days till Election Day, and keep it classy on the internet. Back to you.
Very interesting. This year, COVID-19 resulted in dramatic decrease of in-person social gatherings, but people have found other ways to interact.
Inner Sloth's breakout game Among Us is popularizing new phrases and helping people stay connected.
Everyone is boarding spaceships and telling crewmates GG in Among Us. But what exactly is it?
A video game that's very similar to what many know as Mafia or Murder, where there's one person assigned to be the murderer, no one else knows who the murderer is, everyone gathers around, and the murderer kills people or assigns people that they want to kill. After each round or after someone dies, everyone gets together and they try to figure out who the murderer is.
The multiplayer online game is gaining popularity with students and even congresswomen.
I want my vote counted day of, so I voted early in person.
Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez invited followers to join her on Twitch to play Among Us. According to GameSpot.com, the stream is now the third highest watched in Twitch history. Inner Sloth released Among Us in 2018, but its popularity soared earlier this year when social distancing practices were enforced.
It's incredible that we still are able to connect and have social interaction.
The game is especially helpful for those who are in self-isolation with COVID-19.
Well, I can't see my friends now, so the only way I can associate with them are A, if they've already had COVID, or B, virtually in Among Us. And because not a lot of my friends have had COVID, Among Us is the only option.
Among Us can be downloaded for free on mobile devices or purchased for $5 online. Reporting for NewsLine in Provo, I'm Kenz McGuire.
Thank you for joining us on NewsLine today.
For more information on our stories or to share them with your friends, you can check out our website at universe.bou.edu/newsline.
Have a great day.